Because I keep telling people, I'm like, yeah, it really reminded me of It. And they're like, it reminded you of what? It. Yeah, but what is It? Okay. Hello, my dudes. What's up? Welcome to my channel. And today, wow, it's very echoey in here. Like I mentioned in one of my recent videos, we are currently in the process of moving out of this apartment. So a lot of our stuff is gone, and that's why I'm filming in this random ass room, and that's why it's so echoey, because there's like nothing in this room, and it's weird. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to talk to you right now about the movie Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Ooh, my chair is so squeaky. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, class, is a movie based on the original novels, the series of books with the same title that scarred us all for life as children. Still not sure who decided that was a good series to market to children, because it was absolutely horrifying, terrified a generation. That's probably why we're all fucked up now. It's because of that. That combined with Are You Afraid of the Dark, which is also coming back to haunt my dreams. So the books came out in the 80s, the early 90s. It was basically a decade of terrifying stories in this anthology series written by Alvin Schwartz, accompanied by some truly horrifying drawings and illustrations by Stephen Gammell. And I think reading those stories, like while the actual stories are horrifying, I feel like the visuals of those illustrations was probably the most scary part of the books, because they were just horrifying, like truly disturbing. I will never stop thinking about them for the rest of my life kinds of stuff. And I'm really happy to say that those horrifying nightmare fuel illustrations were brought to life in this film in a way that is so haunting, I will never forget it. So the film is directed by Andre Overdahl. Not 100% sure if I'm saying that right, Andre. He also directed The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which is a movie that I love a lot. I'm not really familiar with anything else he's ever done, but that movie's great. Super interesting horror film. So I was excited that he got the reins on this film. It's also produced by Guillermo del Toro, which is like come on, the man is a god. It was also co-written by del Toro along with Dan Hageman and Kevin Hageman, who I presume are brothers. I don't really know who they are, but I feel like they deserve some credit because they wrote the thing. And it stars a cute little group of kids who I've never heard of. Their names are Zoe Margaret Coletti, Michael Garza, Gabriel Rush, who I believe should play a young Jason Sudeikis, because I just, every time I saw his face, I was like, you are Jason Sudeikis. Are you related? And Austin Zajur, I don't know. Dean Norris is also in this movie, the guy from Breaking Bad, who I haven't seen in anything else, but he's in that, and he was good in this, and I liked him. But essentially, we're following this group of kids who go into this haunted house. It's haunted by this ghost named Sarah Bellows, and there's this huge legend in this town about this ghost and how she kills children or hurts children, and they find her journal and they open it and they basically awaken something. They awaken her, and suddenly people just get picked off and start dying. It's a pretty generic sort of horror movie plot, but I do kind of like the way that they interwove all of the short stories into one big story, because essentially Sarah Bellows has written these stories in her journal, and each story is for each character, so each character gets a specific story that kills them, basically. And that was kind of cool, because we got to see a lot of those stories that we love, and a lot of those weird, creepy drawings and illustrations from the books that are horrifying, and somehow even more horrifying in this movie, because in true Guillermo del Toro fashion, they are all practical effects. Everything is a puppet. Nothing is CGI, except I think one of the monsters has like a CGI'd face. But all of the monsters, everything, like there's this weird bendy thing, and it's like, it's a person, it's a contortionist, like that is real, like everything is real. And there's a whole long video on YouTube about it that I had to watch because I was so fascinated by this, because nobody does practical effects anymore. Like anyone else that would have made this movie would have made all the monsters CGI, or at least most of them. But in this film, they're all real, and they are done so well, and I am so impressed by that. And even if the rest of the movie was like average, that was really cool to me. And I think the rest of the movie was pretty good. I had a good time. I was consistently terrified the entire time. Like the anxiety was there, the stress was there. The acting from these kids was really, really good. I loved all of them. I loved their characters. They were also unique and interesting and realistic and believable. Watching each of the stories unfold and how they sort of related to each person in a specific way was very well done. I truly appreciated that. There's one particular scene in the hospital that, that was probably my favorite scene. Truly haunting. Ugh. I did a lot throughout this movie. A lot of ugh. There are definitely some jump scares in this film. Not like too much. It's like just enough to make sense. The tone kind of allows for jump scares. It has a very like classic, timeless, I mean, it is set in the 60s, I believe. So the jump scares kind of feel right, especially because these are like campfire stories, you know, they're kind of cheesy. They're stories that you would tell someone when you're trying to scare them, and then you'd be like, boo, and like literally try to jump scare them. So it felt fitting. One thing that I kept thinking about is that this film really reminded me of It, the movie It. It's really hard to talk about this movie unless you're very specific that it's the movie It about Pennywise the clown. Okay. Because I keep telling people, I'm like, yeah, it really reminded me of It. And they're like, it reminded you of what? It. Yeah, but what is it? So yes, it reminded me of It, mostly because of the time period, and it's this group of kids who go into a creepy house and find some creepy shit and are trying not to be murdered by this thing. It's like very similar story-wise, and even kind of visually it was very similar. I think it wasn't as good as It, but it was still very good. I just couldn't help but compare the two because they are very similar. Except this one is more of a ghost story. I do have one complaint with this film. Actually, two, I guess. One, I feel like they didn't go as deep with some of the stories as they could have, or like the overall story. I feel like they were just kind of scratching the surface with a lot of things, and I would have liked them to get a little bit deeper into that, a little bit deeper into the characters and their relationships with each other. And I also really don't love the ending. I was like thoroughly enjoying this film. I was having a great time. It was starting to wrap up, and I was like, wow, this movie's really good. I'm really loving this. And then the ending happens, and it's not what I wanted. It's really not what I wanted. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm just saying it didn't give me enough closure, and I just felt like it just sort of ended and was like trying for one thing when it really should have been trying for the other thing. And there are a lot of movies that do things like this, what this movie did, and I'm just not a huge fan of it. But other than that, I really liked it. I had a really good time. So I'm gonna say overall, this movie really captured the feeling, the tone of the original stories. It was truly not the scariest movie I've ever seen, but it was scary. There are some disturbing visuals. Like, the visuals are what's terrifying about this film. They are just creepy and unsettling, and they were done so well. And the story was good. It was consistently suspenseful and terrifying, and I had a really good time, so I'm gonna give this movie a 4 out of 5. But that's it for my review of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Did you see this movie? Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about it. I would love to talk about this film with you. But that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching and hopping on over to my channel. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!